Welcome to Connecting the Community podcast. I am your host, Marge Andre. I will be connecting you to people, organizations, and events that create community. I am creating this podcast in Richmond Hill, an eclectic and very culturally diverse community with lots of trees and streams and interesting people, just up the hill from Toronto. On this podcast, I am talking with Orvin Lao, the new minister at Light on the Hill Church. It is a historic church on a very nice property on the east side of Yonge Street, just south of Stouffville Road. I would bet most of the listeners have at least driven by it. Welcome, Orvin.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, no, I'm very glad that we were able to find a time to do this. So, Orvin, let's start. And can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where did you grow up, and why did you decide to become a minister?
I grew up in the Philippines, in Manila, and I grew up in a religious home. I went to church all my life, but did not really personalize it until much later in life. Um, and there was, you could say, a spiritual revival moment personally for me when things were kind of falling apart in my childhood, and I realized I needed to make a change. And I turned to the thing that I grew up with, really Jesus and the church and Christianity, and I personalized it rather than it being something that I needed to adhere to because my parents went to church or the rest of the people around me went to church. So I took it for myself. But how I ended up becoming a minister, particularly, was when I was in university, now in Canada. At this point, I was a university student at Ryerson, now TMU. I was involved in a student campus, sort of it's like a parachurch organization. And I was involved in the leadership where we just met with random students in the campus to have conversations around spirituality. And I mentored a bunch of younger guys as well around the Bible and their growth in their own faith. That experience for me catalyzed the a desire to pursue this vocationally. Perhaps I thought of it as like, this could be a career option for me. I enjoy it a lot. So that's how the seed was planted for me to consider ministry. And that developed more specifically into the Anglican Church. After my bachelor's degree, I went to an Anglican seminary. And there I really honed it to become an ordained priest with the Anglican Church of Canada.
Okay. When did you become ordained?
Um, I was ordained a deacon first. The
Hmm.
process to be an Anglican minister is to be deacon first and then a
Okay.
priest. So I was ordained as a deacon in May 2018,
Okay.
and
Okay.
then
So,
I became a priest in February 2020.
okay. So not that long ago. Okay. But this is not your first church. Where were you before?
My first parish that I served as a lay pastor
Hmm.
was at St. Paul's Bloor Street,
Mm.
between Church and Jarvis along Bloor. And then from there, I became a pastor, still under St. Paul's Bloor at St. George de Martyr, which is like close to the entertainment district in Toronto. And then from there, I went on to become an associate priest at Little Trinity Anglican Church, or Trinity East, close to the Distillery District in the old town of Toronto. And then from there, after 6 years or so, I was appointed as priest in charge at Light on the Hill, or as it's known as St. John the Baptist Oak Ridges.
Yeah. Yeah. It is called a few things. So, well, I'm
Yes.
glad you're up in Richmond Hill. You came from a historic church up to another historic church, but downtown Toronto is certainly different than up at Stouffville Road. So you are at a unique property, I believe. So let's talk about your church, and let's starting with its physical presence. Can you fill us in a little bit on the history of the church?
Well, I'm still getting to know the
Mm-hmm.
history. It's a long history. And I've read up a bit here and there. I've only been in the church 5 months, so very new.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it at least being established in 1848. The church building was erected around then, and then it was just from there was upgraded and renovated through time. But it's considered the oldest church edifice in Richmond Hill.
Hmm.
Um, I believe it's designated as a heritage site, perhaps, and there's a plaque that could be read where there has been a community here prior to 1800s, even in
Yeah.
the late 1700s. There was a French revolutionary royalists who were exiled, you could say, from to England, and then they came to Canada. They were given plots of land to settle, but that didn't work out after a few years, and then they all sort of spread out. It was at the time called Wyndham, but the church was erected to really accommodate the Anglican population that was growing in this area, and the at least the style of it has been classical or Gothic revival. So inside the church is rather dark with the dark wood that they use, a lot of the arches and a lot of the stained glass window, however you want it. However we imagine a church right now, it does look like that. It's a very humble, small space, but well beloved. There's some well-worn history to it, but it's a cozy and intimate space for parishioners currently to reside in for our Sunday worship at 10 a.m. on Sundays.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah, it is a beautiful space. But there has been additions and you've got some really good space sort of attached to it, both a basement. I've been down in there and it's a really nice meeting space. I think your kitchen's down there. And then you've got an upper part as well. So can you talk about those spaces?
Yeah, those were added onto the church building around the 50s, I believe. So it's kind of like a split level.
Hmm.
There is the upper level and then the lower level. So it's not technically a proper basement, but it's
Yeah.
kind of half.
Yeah.
You've been to the space, but there is a lower hall, as we call it. So it's a much more open space where it's like multi-purpose, often used as banquet or meeting spaces for other churches. There are, in fact, a number of smaller churches that rent out our space. I believe we'll talk about that later on.
Hmm.
And then there's the upper hall where a lot of the office spaces are. There's the washrooms upstairs, and then there is another smaller, you could say, multi-purpose room, which was at first it was being used for a while as a youth room.
Hmm.
It's quite loungy,
Hmm.
cozy. It's sort of like a built fireplace in it, and it's called the upper hall. So it's good that everything's attached and everything's indoors. You could go. It's not much, but we are sitting on an 8 square acre plot of land, and much of it is the parking, a field. There's also a cemetery that goes way back, and there's many, many legacy historic family ties who have their members buried there. So we're looking after that as well.
Yeah, no, it is. I did not realize it was 8 acres, but yes, it's a beautiful piece of property. And you've got a community gardens back there and beehives and yeah, I was amazed what was back there.
Yeah, that we will be resuming our outdoor worship service
Mm,
around June. That had been brought about through COVID when we needed to figure out a safe way at the time to gather, and outdoors was the means to do so during the warmer season. So through those years of in and out of lockdown, they built a pergola there, even like a worship space. That space outdoors there is called the Henry Nouwen Center for Worship and Prayer. It's quite a lovely, picturesque, quiet area that you can't really hear much from Yonge Street, which is close by. And there are entry points there to like walking trails, There is, you mentioned a community garden. There are plots of soil that are sectioned off for anyone really to purchase. It's a very small fee really to grow flowers, vegetables, whatever people would like in the neighborhood. So we are in the midst of hiring a gardener, in fact, through the Canada Summers job opportunity to just help out with that. There are lovely grounds. It's quiet. There are beehives that help with the pollination, of course, of what's growing. So we look forward to having our services outdoors too. And people do love being outside
Hmm.
when the weather is great.
Yeah, no, it was a, you do have a beautiful piece of property. And I hope people will come and visit you. But also special to you is music. You love to have beautiful music at your space. Can you talk about that?
Yes, the Anglican Church is varied in terms of its musical style. Church is there's always going to be music in church, but what kind, right? At
Hmm.
least here at Light on the Hill recently, we've tended towards a contemporary style. We're not as opposed to traditional. Whenever we think of a traditional church music, we think of organ, a choir, more classical style or sacred music. But at Light on the Hill, it's taken on more contemporary, more modern music. You could imagine drums. We have like electronic drums, a keyboard, guitar, vocals. That 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 sort of you could say on the other end of the Anglican spectrum of expression, worship expression. Um, Back in the day before my time, there was a youth as well. There's a bunch of young people who had now grown up really and kind of moved on from the church, but they were leading the musical aspect of the worship here with just their many musical talents. So that's the flavor of our music, more contemporary, more modern. You could say there's an industry around that. So you
Hmm.
could say there's an appeal to a certain demographic rather than the old school style.
Okay, very, very nice. Now, I noted you have had a lot of children's programs. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, we did. We had a number of young families and their children, and we also had at some point offered a weekly drop-in a children's program for the community to just have parents or caregivers come in midweek
Hmm.
with babies and toddlers to just spend time together. That's sort of morphed into a more of um, a a what's the word? A pared down version because of there's less of a need for it, and we have lack of resources and human resources, you could say, to
Hmm.
help out with that now. Yeah, it was a recent time where it was just like we were swarming with little babies and kids and youth, but they all kind of grew up and during a time of in a transition in the church when the priest had retired, and for the 3 years interim when there was no priest, there was just a moment of attrition perhaps, and people had left slowly. So we are in the midst of rebuilding and reinviting and attracting young families back. Um, that would be ideal to have young people back in our midst.
Right. Okay. So let's hope that that does happen, because I think it was great that what you did, and I do believe there's a need for parents, mums to get together with their little ones. Just yeah, yeah, we
Right.
need to do that. So good luck with that. Now, I other congregations do rent your space. Can you talk about that?
Yes. It came about with sort of the decline of congregational membership. That also came with the decline of congregational financial giving.
Hmm.
For Light on the Hill to continue on financially, to be feasible, we needed to find other revenue or income sources. So the executive director that we currently have, Adam, has done tremendous work to bring in tenants. So our main tenantship rentals are from smaller churches like ourselves. There are 7 churches that can have are regularly meeting and using our space for their worship and their fellowship and ministry. They span from like the Chinese congregations and Persian. and other denominational churches as well. So it's a very busy place, but from various and different communities. So we are happy to be providing sort of these opportunities of connection and a haven for many of these communities who are really sort of the rental market is quite dire, as
Hmm.
we all know, but we have provided accessible and affordable rent spaces for, like you could say, our siblings in Jesus to be able to meet together.
Yeah.
So that also posed opportunity for us to collaborate with these churches too, to have joint services. So we're exploring that as well.
Very, very interesting. I like your phrase, siblings in Jesus. That's not heard before, but it makes sense. So very nice. So I also saw that you can be a filming location. Has there been anything there lately? Like having been up there, I can see why certain film companies, movie locations may want your space. But has that happened lately?
Not during my time. Again, I've just been here 5 months,
Yeah. Okay.
and I have not really dug into what has been filmed here. I mean, it's very picturesque, and
Yeah.
it yeah, it appears sort of conventionally, in how you would imagine sort of like a cemetery space or a church space, lots of land, and even lots of parking for film
Yeah.
crews to
Hmm.
park their trucks and convoys, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's an ideal space, but I don't know how much traction has gotten with our space, but it would be an opportunity really
Yeah.
to promote ourselves this way for
Yeah.
another sort of revenue stream.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, keep my fingers crossed with that too. But if anyone wanted to rent a space, that they had a community group they wanted to bring together, educational program, are open for rentals, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll
Good. So
just, yeah, we'll have to go through the process of the application, and if it works out with the schedules, right?
yeah, definitely. What about weddings? Do you have many weddings there?
It's certainly suitable for
Yeah.
a wedding.
Yeah. I think.
I have not um charted out a policy yet, in terms
Yeah.
of wedding applications.
Okay.
But when it comes time to it, I'd be happy to explore the opportunity to have others really have their weddings in the church, but that's quite rare now. Many couples, I
Mhm.
mean, as a minister, have many couples have really opted to just go have a non-religious setting. They would go to like a golf course resort or another destination wedding, but um, as long as the couple would be willing to be part of the congregation in the community, I would be happy to entertain and
Mhm.
to explore that the opportunity to be wedded at Light on the Hill.
Yeah. Very nice. Well, I think it would be a beautiful place for that. So, I was very happy to see that Light on the Hill is one of the locations for this year's Doors Open, which is coming up May 10th. And you are serving all day breakfast?
That's right. This is our first time,
Okay.
as far as I know, that we are participating in Doors Open. Perhaps we've done it like maybe decades ago, but I'm not sure. But yes, this would be the first time functionally. There will be a few of us who would be participating to help as volunteers, really to do tours, to write out materials for passersby and people who are come through our doors. Now we would hope there'd be good foot traffic. We're just along Young Street, and there is a Viva bus stop very close by.
Yeah.
That would be a good accessibility for many throughout the city, but lots of parking as well. People could
Yeah.
just drive by. I'm sure there are many who are curious about what we're all about and how, like, there's a church situated up on the side of a hill here.
Yeah.
But yes, there is all day breakfast. There is a parishioner of ours who's in fact renting a parking spot in our lot with his food truck, and he's volunteered to serve, to cook, prepare the food, and the church is providing the food
Hmm.
at our expense. Really, it will be free for anyone who attends to just
Yep.
enjoy a good hot meal, and then they'd be free and allowed to just go around the grounds and inside the church as well. It'll be
Yeah.
someone to do the tour as well.
Okay. Yeah, I hope it's a great day that people can go walk on your property. I'm enthused about doors open. I take advantage and usually just go to a couple of sites per year just so it's not too
Yep.
overwhelming. But I think stopping at your location would be really good. So I'm optimistic for you that you have a lot of people coming to visit you. But if they don't come May 10th, you can certainly attend a service. It's 10 a.m. And you just show up. You don't have to email you to say, I'm going to come to your service. Nope.
Yep. Yeah. There's no need to email us to show up.
Okay, just
It'll be
show up.
nice to have a heads up, though.
Yeah,
There
there's
have been a
definitely
few.
some. Yeah, you'd like to be able to look out for certain people. So yeah, I certainly encourage people to go to talk to come and see you. What do you suggest for someone who'd like to visit at another time? Should they just email you, or can they just stop by and wander around? Or
Yeah, the church here is open, and
hmm
there have been in my time here strangers and neighbors who've just passed by and walked into the door to just pray or even
hmm
seek help, spiritual help for that matter. I've
hmm
There was a couple who had come in just out of nowhere and just
hmm
seeking to be consoled, and I prayed over them. And
Yes.
people have come through just to sit in the pews to pray quietly. So our doors are in fact open
hmm
for certain hours, of course. And for another time, really any time during the week, on weekend, on Saturday, I think we're closed. I mean, we abide by sort of the usual office hours. But I'm always free, really. Like my
Yeah.
contact is on the website. Anyone could just contact me, and if they want to grab a coffee, I'd be happy to meet with them.
hmm
That's what I love about my job and work is really getting to know and meet people wherever, whenever. And yeah, but the formal Sunday service for Christian worship is at 10 a.m. on Sundays.
Oh, very good. Okay. So, what aspirations do you have for your congregation and the church?
Yeah, it's multifaceted, of course, but if I could distill it, really it's to empower and equip the present members and new members to not only seek to be hospitable and welcoming with our space, with the resource that we have, but to then go out from our gathered state in the church on a Sunday to go to their workplaces, to their neighborhoods, to be good neighbors, loving neighbors to their own neighbors that they rub shoulders with, their coworkers, their own family members, and to go beyond just themselves, because we're not just gathering on a Sunday to feel good and sort of consume. I want to curb the consumer sort of mentality of individualistic living, but rather to be empowered and to be equipped to be, you could say, to be on mission, to be out and to live out the ethic and the life of sacrifice that Jesus embodied literally in his own life and death on the cross. So we want to, as Christians, really live out to that kind of calling. And from there, of course, that would be attractive to people in our
hmm
world that do not really are not being shaped in a sacrificial way. That's what they're longing for. And with that, perhaps it will bring to mind to people who don't know perhaps of Christianity or are curious of Christianity to consider the claims and the challenges and even the invitation of the call of Jesus Christ to encounter God and the forgiveness of their sins and the transformation of their lives and through the members of Light on the Hill. So that's really my, you could say, broad brush aspiration for my congregation and for Light on the Hill.
Okay, very nicely said. So, anything else that you wanted to add?
Yeah, again, I'm new at Light on the Hill. It's 5 months. I'm excited. I've already been seeing encouraging signs of God's presence and bits and pieces of transformational moments. It's just the ordinary, simple acts and experiences of people that really make a difference. And it's a slow going, long haul type of work. And this is not just my work, it's the work of the people. And so this is my open invitation to anyone who's listening into this podcast to come check us out. We'd love to get to know you. We'd love for you to get to know us as well. We exist, the presence of Light on the Hill really exists to serve the people of Richmond Hill and beyond. We're not just in here to be served, but to serve others, to give our life and time and attention to others. And yeah, I will be moving, in fact, from Toronto to Richmond Hill in a few weeks.
Mhm.
And so I want to live out that life of being rooted, being local, being for the neighborhood and for the city. And so I look forward to actually be more planted and in physically and personally invested in Richmond Hill and around the area here. So yeah, I look forward to moving up here and getting to know many people through the years, God willing.
Very good. Thank you. So I do end the podcast with the guest response to the same question for everyone. I would like you to name one thing you really do like about this community.
There are a number of things that I'm coming to appreciate about the community. One of them is the expanse of nature,
Mm,
um, and that there is a conservation area. There's lots of greenery, lots of hiking trails that you don't really get much in Toronto, where I will be coming from. As much as I will miss Toronto, I'm looking forward to spending lots of time with my very small family, young family. I have two
mhm,
kids, and we will look forward to being able to hike around at length in these conservation areas. There's Lake Wilcox where we'll be living close by. That'll be nice to have.
mhm,
Um, so I look forward to that in this community. I mean, besides the people, of course, and
mhm.
many other cultures and venues that I look forward to getting to know as well. I love the cafes too. There are cafes that are lovely.
Very good.
I'm a coffee guy, so
Okay. That's lots of things. Lots of people have said they love the green space. Good luck with well, I really do hope you enjoy exploring all the both the conservation areas, just the trails that we have. We are very fortunate. So I'm going to include the link to your church and your email so anyone can reach out to you. And I do hope a lot of people do. So thank you, Orvin, for taking the time to do this podcast.
yeah. Thank you for the privilege, the opportunity. Thanks, Marge.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening. I would very much appreciate you sharing this podcast. Consider emailing me at marj, M-A-R-J, at margeandre.com. I welcome suggestions for podcast guests. Stay well, stay connected.